Hey Alexis, hey Zany, hi from Toronto. I'm so sorry I can't be there on Tuesday for Janet's memorial and celebration. I'm really glad that Rachel can be there representing the Bordoli family. But I didn't want my physical absence to be an excuse for not sharing with the two of you what Janet meant to me. As you both know, I was pouched some 22 years ago. And since then, my relationship with Janet can't be defined by, a single facet or a single phrase. And so what I wanted to do was share with you some of the ways that, Janet sort of inspired me and engaged with me, because it's very unusual and very meaningful. The first thing is she was a trusted confidant, which is unusual for sort of mother of your friends. Zany, I'm not sure if you know this, but for those brief couple of months when we dated, right at the beginning of it, Janet was a confidant about how to approach you, and that was sort of shocking as a young man, for the mother of the girl you were looking to date, to give you that advice. And that was just the beginning of a repeated pattern of how she would transcend conventional boundaries. She also, when I was engaged to Rachel and before we married, she gave me sort of wise counsel on, what a healthy marriage is. She joked that, having been married 4 times, she had a wealth of experience, and it was important for her to share that. And she did it in such a sort of kind and gentle way. It didn't feel patronizing. And then in raising children, she's done a tremendous job in raising the two of you, and she clearly had a special connection with Max and Benno and Caspi as well. And so, as I learned how to be a parent, she was an inspirational model. So trusted confidant was the first role. The second was generous host. Oh my word, so generous. From originally staying at Holland Park Gardens, then recuperating in the West Coast Clinic of Santa Barbara, even before they'd moved in, Garden Street, the original sort of apartment, and they were they hadn't even moved in, and they opened up their home to me. I lost count of the number of dinners we had in the beautiful rotunda in the Santa Barbara home overlooking the ocean. And the two of them just loving to entertain and to feed those that had been pouched. Picking me up at San Francisco Airport in 1997 when I was coming to Stanford. They were the ones there, checking me in, helping me set up my room. And then, last but by no means least, sort of, hosting my parents when my parents would go down and visit as well. And so, limitless, generosity. So generous host. Third role that, Janet sort of played with me is sort of open-minded intellectual. I consider myself pretty smart, but I always look forward to dinners and conversations with Janet and with Ivan. The interesting dinner conversation that we would have. I mean, one of the ones that sort of sticks out is when we would sort of hypothesize around benign dictators. If we were each, benign dictators, what we would do. And Janet would always come up with something so interesting and thought-provoking. And then, when I wasn't well for a period of time in London, she understood that it wasn't just my body that was ailing, but I needed, mental stimulation as well. And she took me to lectures at the British Museum. And I remember one by Douglas Adams, author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I mean, Janet, was very much an open-minded intellectual and always looking for new stimuli. The fourth sort of role model she played for me was spirited adventurer. You know, she didn't inhabit, wasn't just a life of the mind, but it was a life of the body, you know, a life of sort of engaging with the world. You know, she enjoyed life with such gusto. Obviously, you know, starting off in South Africa and then going to London and US and, you know, Santa Barbara. You know, she was a wandering spirit and very inspirational, and, you know, certainly helped me sort of think about, you know, moving west and, you know, being the only one of my family to leave the shores of the UK. Fond members of Mallorca, even though she was, you know, she had been desperately unwell, she was still engaging with life, you know, with sort of unabated pleasure. And then, you know, the last time I saw Janet, which was in Santa Barbara, Alexis, when I came down to see you in mid-February, and, you know, it's a wonderful memory to hold in my heart and my mind, of seeing her in Santa Barbara, seeing her at Hendry's on the beach, and the vivacity that she had. And then the last role was loyal friend, you know. Loyal friend to me, loyal friend to those that she had pouched. You know, Alexis, you probably remember the Sarah Davison incident from the wedding. Zany, if you don't know this story, it was, you know, we were talking about for Rachel and I's wedding, we wanted to provide a room for guests to change in if they didn't want to travel up to Northumberland in their sort of wedding finery. And so Rachel's maid of honor, Sarah Davison, was one of the rooms we were making available for guests to change in before they could check into their own room. And, you know, bless Janet, you know, she thought it was Sarah Davison, you know, Alexa's ex-girlfriend, and went on a tirade. Whoops, lost the video there briefly. So went on an absolute tirade, and I didn't understand. Like I didn't understand what I'd done wrong, and then eventually put two and two together. But, you know, Alexis and Janet and I sort of laughed about it, and, you know, it was a you know, humorous example of her fierce loyalty, and if she was on your side, she was on your side. And so, you know, I'll leave it with that. Probably the biggest lesson that Janet has, you know, given me is that life is about love and friendships, and warms my heart so deeply that our families are so deeply bound. You know, Alexis being, you know, being godfather to Caspi, Zany, you being, you know, godmother to Zany. You know, for us to have those binds and for those relationships to endure means the world to me. So, you know, I know tomorrow will be a day of many mixed emotions, but I hope the primary one is joy. You know, the joy of Janet's life and the joy that she's given to me, given to Rachel, given to our family, and that we'll carry that forward in our hearts. Love you both. Give you virtual hugs from Toronto, and hope to see you in the not too distant future. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.